Wait a second. Hansel and Gretel. 2 children. A dark forest. A house made of candy. You know this story. Everyone does. But think about this. Why would a parent abandon their children in a forest? The story says it was a wicked stepmother, and we accept it because in fairy tales, stepmothers are always evil. But what if that detail wasn't original? What if behind this story there were real families facing starvation? And what if the witch is not just a monster, but a reflection of survival at its darkest? After this video, you will never see Hansel and Gretel the same way again.
Part 1. The Grimm version.
Germany. In the early 19th century, the Brothers Grimm collected folk tales. Their book became one of the most influential in history, and one story stood out: Hansel and Gretel. A poor woodcutter, 2 children, no food. The stepmother suggests abandoning them. The father resists, then agrees. The children are left in the forest. They get lost, and then they find it. A house made of candy. Inside, a witch. She plans to eat them. Gretel pushes her into the oven. They escape. They return home. A happy ending. But something feels off. Why a forest? Why starvation? Why cannibalism? And most importantly, why would a parent abandon their children? The answer may lie in history.
Part 2. The Great Famine.
Northern Europe. Endless rain. Crops fail. Fields flood. And this continues for years. Historians call it the Great Famine. Between 1315 and 1322, one of the darkest periods in European history. People were starving. Entire communities collapsed. In extreme situations, families faced impossible choices. There are records of children being abandoned. Not widespread, but real. There are also records of cannibalism, rare, but documented. When survival was at stake, people did the unthinkable. Now look at the story again. A starving family, children in the forest, and a figure that eats them. Does it still feel like fantasy?
Part 3. The Stepmother.
Now let's look at one detail, the stepmother. In the Grimm version, she is the villain, but it wasn't always like that. In earlier versions, she was the real mother. So why change it? Because the idea of a mother abandoning her children was too disturbing. So the story changed. The blame was shifted. The mother became stepmother. The story became easier to accept. But reality is often more uncomfortable than fiction.
Part 4. The Witch.
Now the witch, the most terrifying part of the story. A woman who eats children. But what does she represent? In times of famine, some people left society. They went into forests, trying to survive. And in extreme cases, some turned to cannibalism. Society labelled such people as monsters, as witches, not always supernatural, but feared. Now think about the oven, fire, hunger, survival. The witch uses it to cook children. This may not be random.
Part 5. Why this story survived.
The Grimm brothers published this in 1812, but the events it reflects may be centuries older. Europe faced repeated famines, wars, plagues, economic collapse. Each time, the story stayed relevant because people recognised it. It wasn't just a story. It felt real, familiar. So what do you see now? A fairy tale or something else? I see a desperate family. I see hunger. I see survival. Stories like this may have been a way to cope, to turn pain into something tellable, because reality was too heavy. But wrapped in a story, it could survive. passed from generation to generation. And today, we still tell it. But now you know there might be something deeper behind it. Because every innocent story may hide a darker truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.